can you kick us off?
Sure. Welcome to our virtual meeting. If you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link in your original email. Members, if you are able, please activate your video and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. All panelists, that is alders, commission members, and staff, have the ability to mute and unmute themselves. Commission members, please continue to use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak, ask questions, or request a roll call vote. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who have registered to speak, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. The clerk will tell you when your time is up. After speaking, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the body, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Chair Donnelly, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. This meeting is governed by Robert's Rules of Order. All speakers wishing to address the committee regarding an agenda item must first complete a registration form, as Mr. Schwarzman described. And there's no gallery for people sitting. Okay. Mr. Christensen, are there any notified absences?
I see none.
I call this meeting of the ALRC to order at 5:35 p.m. Will you please call the roll?
President Carter. President Carter is present. Mr. Donnelly.
Present.
Mr. Donnelly is present. Mr. Fletcher. Mr. Grady.
Here.
Ms. Reese.
Here.
Alder Skidmore.
Here.
Alder Revere.
Here.
Westra.
Here.
Mr. Conospina is not. I show 7 present. We have quorum.
Secretary of State, but he's confirmed. He's been with Biden since he was on the Senate Foreign Relations.
Yeah, right. You know, it's such a great point. Any reference there is we.
Order of business. Approval of minutes from our meeting on December 16th, 2020. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Move approval.
Your motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Grady. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor remain silent. In opposition, raise your hand physically or virtually. Motion passes. Do we have anyone registered for early public comment?
We do not.
Okay. Disclosures and recusals. Members of the body should make any required disclosures or recusals under the city's ethics code.
I need to make a recusal on item number 14, the public hearing for the new license for the IO Arcade Bar. My husband is consulting with them, so we have technically a financial interest. If we could go over what recusal means for everyone here, because we haven't had one in a really long time.
That's a very good idea. So first of all, we have disclosure and recusal, 2 separate things. Disclosure is simply notifying people of something that might be considered to be an influencing factor, but that you believe will not impact your decision. Recusal is saying that you will not participate in the discussion and will abstain from the vote. Any questions? Okay. I have a disclosure. Oh, good. Mr. Fletcher's here. I'd actually rather recuse myself from this one. I'm going to recuse myself from item 2 because I am friends with the applicant. Okay. Presentation of the consent agenda. Minister Christensen.
Yes, and just for my edification, do I read the entire?
The way we generally do it, the first pass through, you just read the numbers and then people can remove items. And then after we vote on it, you read off the entire list.
Groovy. Okay, so right now the proposed consent agenda as it stands is item number 3, a change of agent for Atwood Restaurant on Atwood. Item 8, an entity reorganization or change of officers for Portillo's on Easttown Boulevard. Number 9, a change of licensed premises for forage on Hilldale Way. Sorry. Number 10, a change of licensed premises for Forward Hospitality on West Wash. Number 12, a public hearing new license for Hy-Vee on Mineral Point. Number 13, a public hearing new license for Baines Brothers on Thierer Road. And number 14, a public hearing new license for IO Arcade Bar on Williamson Street.
Thank you very much. Any items people would like to separate from the consent agenda? Assistant City Attorney Zillevi.
Numbers 12, 13, and 14. And then I just have a question on number 10.
Fire away.
With the question?
Yeah.
On number 10, it's for a change in premise, both for an outdoor space and then an indoor space for parties. And I don't believe the applicant owns the property, so I just want to make sure that what they're doing is covered under the lease agreement that they have for the property.
Why don't we go through other things people want to separate, and Mr. Shevin, can you get this applicant queued up after that?
They're not registered yet.
Oh, they're not? Okay. So, well, we'll have a moment. Is there anything else people would like to separate? Okay. Well, if the applicant isn't here to answer the question, Assistant City Attorney Zillevi, would you like to move forward with item 10 or separate from the consent agenda?
Oh, sorry, the applicant is here on item 10.
Excellent. Let's look in.
Hello.
There, did you hear Assistant City Attorney Zillevi's question, or shall she repeat it?
Would you mind, I think I heard it, but I just want to be clear. Would you mind repeating it?
Sure. So in the area that you're looking to expand to, you have an outdoor area, and then you also have an indoor area. And I was just wondering whether those areas are covered under your current lease.
Yeah, thanks for that question. We have a lease for the indoor area. We have an addition to our current lease that we can use that outdoor area for this summertime. I don't actually think that we probably will use the outdoor area. It really just is more of a padding for if COVID restrictions are still continuing.
Okay. But the indoor area is covered with your existing lease?
It is, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, then do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Move to approve as amended.
All right, motion from Ms. Reese and a second from Ms. Westra. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor remain silent. Those opposed, raise your hand. No hands, motion passes. Mr. Christensen, will you read out which items have just been disposed of?
Certainly, thank you. The items that are on the consent agenda for January 20th are all recommended council to grant. And those are number 3, a change of agent for Atwood Restaurant on Atwood Avenue. Number 8, an entity reorganization for Portillo's Hot Dogs on East Town Boulevard. Number 9, a change of licensed premises for Forage Kitchen on Hilldale Way. And number 10, a change of licensed premise for Forward Hospitality on West Washington Avenue.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 2, Mr. Fletcher, if you're ready, I will hand the gavel to you for this one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. So agenda item 2, operator license application for Veronica Smash. Ms. Smash, are you with us? Joe, is Veronica with us?
There's no one by that name in the list currently.
Okay. What is the committee's pleasure?
don't know what you call it, but can we wait until later?
Would that be a motion to table the matter?
Yes.
Do I hear, so motion from Ms. Westra, is there a second?
It was actually Reese.
It was actually
motion.
Oh, thank you very much. So motion from Ms. Reese, seconded by Mr. Grady. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will table the item until later on. Mr. Chair, would you like to resume?
I would be happy to. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. That brings us to item 4, entity reorganization for Longhorn Steakhouse at 418 South Gammon. Mr. Christensen, would you give us the overview of this, please?
Eric, you're muted.
Sorry, spacebar thing. So items number 4, 5, and 6 are actually the entities that are owning these are the same. And in each case, the application indicates there are 3 officers, 2 of whom are being replaced. And because of that, the committee in the past is, because more than 50% of the ownership is changing, the committee's asked that they appear to discuss what they're doing.
Okay, do we have anyone registered for these items?
Yes, Colleen Lyons.
Yes, I'm here.
Darden Center Drive.
Yes, I am the remaining officer on all of these. As a whole, Darden Restaurants, which is the entity which owns and operates our 1,800 restaurants across the U.S., has had 2 of our longstanding officers retire. And so we're replacing them with Angela Simmons and Lindsay Corin across the country.
Excellent. Will this represent any change in operations?
No.
Committee, you have any questions? In that case, what's your pleasure?
Move approval.
Your motion to approve from Ms. Westra, a second from Mr. Fletcher. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor remain silent. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Westra, was that for items 4, 5, and 6?
Yes.
Excellent. Mr. Fletcher? Okay, so all in favor of granting items 4, 5, and 6 indicate by remaining silent. Anyone in opposition, please raise your hand. I see no opposition. Motion passes. Items 4, 5, and 6 are granted. Item 7, entity reorganization of Ito Japanese restaurant at 532 South Park. Mr. Christensen.
This is on the pull from the consent agenda because they're adding 1 officer and removing 1 officer, but according to their application, it indicates they only had 1 to start with. And as 100% change of officers, it's the committee's usual, the committee usually wants to talk about that. And when we kind of realized what was going on here, it was yesterday afternoon. It was too late to have somebody come in and fill out another form or anything. And our office was not available for use today. So not sure what the committee wants to do with it.
Do we have a registrant?
Chair, this is item 7.
Yes, it is.
There's no one listed to speak. We do have someone in the list that's not on the list of registrants that maybe is here to speak about it. I'm not sure how they got the link, but
why don't we give them an opportunity and see if they are indeed here for this, and if so, they can fill the form out afterward.
It's Bin Zhou.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can. Are you here to talk to us about Ito Japanese restaurant?
Yes, I'm the owner for the restaurant, yes.
Excellent. Before we start anything else, do you promise that you'll fill out the form to register to speak after you're done?
Oh, I didn't register. Oh my God, I just got the link. You are sent to me. I just go inside. Yes.
Totally fine. Just want to make sure that we don't have any trouble later. So if you promise you'll do it, we'll believe you.
Yes. I just don't know my English not very well. I just don't know how to register. Later, I done it. Try to find it how to do. Someone help me.
Sure. If you would like, the city will provide you with a translator free of charge.
I should be okay. Just, I don't know that. Usually, I don't know. I need to register for the link and then can go through. I don't know that, but I'm okay. I understand you talking about it.
Okay. If you are completely confident and you don't want a translator, that's fine. Be aware that we later, if we're talking to you and you say that you didn't understand something, we're not going to be able to give you any leniency for that.
Okay.
So it's entirely up to you, and we'll respect whichever way you decide.
If you got right now, got the people, right? If you can do that, I prefer they got someone can transfer for me.
Sure. I don't know whether it's something we can do on the spot. It's certainly something we could do for next month. Mr. Christensen, okay, he's nodding. So what we could do is refer this item, and that would mean we would take it up at our meeting next month. And if you work with the clerk's office ahead of time, they will arrange a translator for you free of charge.
Oh, I received the UR want me register already. I can do that later. But when this pop, I should be okay. Understand you are all talking about. I should be okay. I'm okay. Yes.
Assistant City Attorney Brist, as the counsel for the LRC, do you have any recommendations for us?
Well, I think this is just adding one officer and removing one officer. We may be able to clearly discuss this without a problem. If we did reach an impasse, then I would suggest that we refer it to the next meeting.
Thank you very much. All right. Ms. Zhou, can you please tell us what's going on with this business?
Nothing long because my partner just my partner before, you know, we are half and he he just do the liquid license right now. He is leaving, so I own 100%. So I want to change the liquid license under my name too.
Were you previously an officer for the corporation?
Yes, I you know, before I go to there with him. So I over there, I write down 50% on her name, 50% on me. But right now I change all the stuff, and then he's no more the owner business. So I prefer the liquid license under my name.
When did you become an officer for this corporation?
What you mean I think last year, so he quit, and then so after this year, I think the of the 19th, so I just switched it, and then so I called it. I don't know that, so I called it maybe December or November, and I call the office, ask how to do, and then they tell me it's easy, just pay the money and then can switch.
So did you became an officer in December of 2020?
Yeah, I contact the officer, yes. So
no,
I got the
not when did you contact the clerk's office? When did you become an officer of the corporation that we're discussing here tonight?
I don't understand this. So maybe next I need to move to next June. So they got someone can transfer for me because I don't understand this word. What you mean?
All right. I guess we should probably refer this to the next meeting.
Sure. Do I hear a motion to that effect, Mr. Fletcher? and a second from Mr. Grady. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of referring item 7 to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the LRC indicate by remaining silent. Opposed, raise your hand. No opposition, motion passes. Michelle, I recommend that you reach out to the clerk's office, both to schedule the translator and perhaps to answer questions ahead of time to be well prepared for the meeting.
So you mean want me to be next time, right? Next time joining, and then I add, right? Got someone. I tell Naya I need someone transfer, so they can get someone with me, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
So you want me quick out right now? Go out?
Right. And Eric, will somebody from the clerk's office be able to reach out and facilitate that communication?
Yes, it hopefully yet this week. And there is some other stuff I want to do to check on this because I'm looking back at prior year alcohol renewals, and I just want to make sure that Ms. Zhou isn't already on there. She might be.
Great, thank you very much. All right, yeah, thank you for your time. Hope you have a good night. Next item is item 11, new license application for Mini Mart at 714 West Badger. And am I remembering right? Yes, this is back to us from Common Council. Alder Carter, or any of the elders on the committee, could you give us the history of why this is before us again?
This was referred to you because the applicant felt that they wanted to provide additional information, but unfortunately, I haven't heard from the applicant. So I don't even know if the applicant is here tonight.
Do we have a registrant?
We have 3 registrants. We have Ron Trachtenberg, Waqar Manzoor, and Sheila Mary Sanchez.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, let's hear from them then.
In that order?
Yeah, Mr. Trachtenberg is the attorney, correct? I suspect he would like to address us first.
Thank you. The motion last time that was adopted by the LRC was a place on file without prejudice, which means that we could have come back and we could have refiled the application and come back sooner than a year. We didn't have to wait the year. When it went to the Common Council, I asked that it be referred back for reconsideration, and we delayed our from the December meeting to the January meeting, which we felt that gave us ample time to produce our additional information. The main 2 things that we did in that period of time was review the complaint against Saeed that Assistant City Attorney provided us, and review the things that he did wrong and that we would not do. And also we just talked extensively with Waqar as to his operation of the store. One of the issues that came up, this is a minor point, is the name of the store. Waqar was going to name the store Badger Mini Mart. There was some concern that the word Badger would relate back to Badger Liquor, which was Saeed's name. We still like the name Badger because it identifies the location as the street. It is not going to be Badger Liquor, it's going to be Badger Mini Mart, and it's not going to have any relation other than Saeed being the landlord with Saeed. So with that, I'd like Waqar to review his background and how he plans on operating the store, what he's investing in the store, and what he hopes to produce from the store. So the next person would be Waqar, if you please.
That sounds good to me. Before that, committee, do you have any questions for Mr. Trachtenberg? Okay, take it away, Mr. Manzoor.
Good evening. This is Waqar Manzoor. I am the person, the owner or the new owner that's trying to lease the place from Mr. Syed. And of course, he's the landlord, so I have to work with him as far as I have a master in business, and I've been working for the last 20 years for a corporation, telecom corporation, managing as a senior technical consultant. So I have managed, quite a few people also in my business. And of course, with the logistics goes along with that. And beside that, I have previous backgrounds, in different types of works, before, I joined the telecom company. And in some of those was retail businesses that I have worked in a longer time period, yes. And from there, I move on to the telecom side of it. But from there, basically I have, work in the field, manage some inventories, manage people, design circuits, all those kind of things that I have done in the past in there. Moving on to this venture because I have, like I said, I've been 20 years with the company plus, so I'm looking into more on the retirement. And so at that point, I was thinking maybe I am opening this store and that will help to compensate my time. And of course, it will employ my son also with that. And with that, I think my other store person that is going to be Sheila Sanchez. That is going to be on duty also with me at that location. As far as the inventory and all those things, I've obviously up to this point, I have, quite a few expenses that already happen in there. And of course, with the inventory, I engage myself to, $30,000+ to be inventory also. So there is a lot of stakes on my part as far as running the business, and I know I can do this. And because of my background in the business and working with large corporations, managing a few things for them also. And based on that, I think I will be a good candidate to run that, and along with my partner, I guess, that's going to be working up there at the Sheila Sanchez with that. Like I said, I have invested quite a bit of money already in there to make sure that, I can get what I'm looking for it, and it's a feasible option for me to work. And, as far as the neighborhood concern up there, I think the location is wonderful up there. It is on quite a busy street, and Badger Street is by the Park Avenue, so it's a pretty lighted corner, I guess. And so based on that, I think I will be looking forward to run this business along with my Sheila Sanchez and my son.
All right, thank you. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant?
I have one question. It looks like on the application, we still have the mailing address as 2716 Central Avenue, which I think we determined last time was not an actual address.
That is correct. Yes, that's, I guess I have acquired a mailbox at the Wingrad Avenue Post Office up there also. And that's, I think the 259 133, the mailbox that that we'll be using up there. And of course, I think we were looking into that, changing the address to my attorney's office also too, and that's open too. So there's a couple of options that we have for the address.
Thank you. Any further questions, Ms. Reese?
No, thank you.
Assistant City Attorney Zillaby, then Mr. Grady.
Have you made improvements to the interior of the space?
Not yet. I'm just waiting for a confirmation. So we have pretty much all agenda in line as far as what we need to do it, as far as the renovation from the inside. That is correct, from the floor to the walls and the wirings and things like that, yes.
What exactly are you planning to do with the interior?
As far as the interior, the first thing is the flooring that need to be replaced totally, and that's I guess in a bad shape, and so that's something that need to be done. And there are some wiring issues that I see it, and of course the painting has to be done also too.
And you stated that you've already made a significant investment in inventory. What inventory have you purchased?
What I mean is, if I'm going to move into it, obviously there is going to be more inventory, plus whatever expense that I already have occurred so far in order to pursue this business. And so if to say that, I was guessing it at least, it'd be a 30,000 plus in inventory that I need to be put it in just to start something. And based on what the neighborhood likes and stuff, so we will have to adjust those as far as what we need to accommodate as far as for the neighborhood.
Okay, so you have not purchased inventory yet?
No, but I have in line with the vendors, yes, that will be willing to work with us.
Are you purchasing alcohol inventory that was previously at that location?
No, I'm not.
And again, can you describe what you intend to offer in terms of grocery type items?
In the grocery items, I think, there is, of course, in the food, we have to get a license for the food also, food items. And of course, for the dairy, I think we have to get a license for that also. So based on those, I think if we have those two licenses, I think we pretty much care for the needs for the neighborhood, from bread and butter to milk, chips, and those kind of things. Those are the agenda that we probably will be able to support that. Yes.
All right, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zillaby, Mr. Grady, and then Alder Carter.
Yeah, Mr. Manzoor, do you live in Madison?
Not yet.
Do you live in Wisconsin?
No, I'm in Illinois right now.
Okay, so you're not a Wisconsin resident?
Not yet, no.
Okay. And what's your relationship with the owner of the building? Do you have any relationship with him other than tenant?
Just a landlord and tenant, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grady. Alder Carter.
I just have a couple questions. When you were here in December and we told you about the Central Avenue, and I also had talked to your attorney, why wasn't this application amended prior to today's meeting with the post office box or whatever you had? That's my first question. My second question is, in December, we talked about a later opening time for Sunday. That was one of the requests from the church across the street from you. And I see you still have it at 9 a.m. on Sunday. And then I have a third question, but can you answer those two questions for me?
Yes. The first one, I think I already addressed to Mr. Trachtenberg up there. As far as the address, he was supposed to take care of that as to make the change or the addendum to the address up there. I did provide the post office address also, and we also discussed about changing the address to his office address up there too. So those are the two things. I think he was saying that he can take care of those, but I guess it was not in time for this meeting, I guess. The second thing that you mentioned about the timing, I think we can accommodate that for the Sunday. That's not a problem. You requested that we should open on the 11 a.m. On Sunday in that time frame. I think we can work that. Yes.
Okay, and then what is your PO box? What's the number?
It's the 259-133.
And that's at the Wingra post office location?
Yes. It's a 259-133 Madison 53713.
Okay, thank you. Will Sheila be speaking today or not? Or is it Chair? Oh, I'm sorry, Waqar.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did ask Sheila to give her input also about the business, and so you can have any other questions, concern. You can ask me and her also.
Okay. Well, I was really asking the chair if that was appropriate.
It is.
Okay.
Are there any further questions for Mr. Manzoor?
I just have one quick one as to when you expect to be open if you are approved.
Yes, the timeline, I think we're looking at about 3 weeks time, from the rehab, to start to work those issues, the outside issues. I think your concern, the committee had a concern about the boulders and stuff. So those are some of the things that we wanted to realign some of these outside also to accommodate the ice machines and stuff like that, and the handicap, I guess, path to come in. Also, that I was looking at, I guess the side boulders that they're sitting up there, the people are sitting on it, those kind of things. We have a plan to do some of those works also too. So I'm looking at about 3 weeks plus time in there. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zellaby. Any further questions for Mr. Manzoor?
I have one more question for Waqar.
Fire away.
Okay, thank you. Waqar, I recall, are you using both doors to go in and out?
No, there will be one door that will be used to in and out in there. If you're standing in the front, it's going to be the left one.
Okay. And then the other thing is we talked in December about cameras. Are you still going to have those cameras situated?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, we have the cameras in place right now, and they are in the front on both left and right that view both sides of the building. And of course, inside, there are a number of cameras that flip timely on the monitor that, it's got like 9 sections in there that can look at the inside and outside in a timely manner. Yes.
Okay. And go ahead.
And if we need something more in there that we feel that, we're not capturing it, we'd be willing to take care of that. That's not an issue.
My other question was, in December, we talked about making sure that you had 2 people working at the same time in the store. Is that still your plan?
That is correct. And like that, initially, there's going to be myself, my son, and Sheila. And then, of course, as the business, we will be looking to hire, at least 2 people from the neighborhood, just to be close by, so they don't have any convenience problems or anything like that. So that's something that I'm looking into that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions for the applicant? All right, let's have our next registered speaker, Ms. Sanchez. Are you with us?
Yep. Sheila, you're on the phone. If you could press *6 to unmute yourself. Again, if you could press *6 to unmute yourself. Unfortunately, I can't unmute you myself. So if you go to the keypad icon on your phone and press *6, that will unmute you yourself.
There we are. Hello?
Hello.
Yes,
Can you hear me? Okay, wonderful. Hi, guys. This is Sheila Sanchez, and I'm very thankful to be in front of everybody again. Sorry, the phone wasn't working real good there. But you can ask me what questions you'd like, and then I'll give you an input on what I've been doing.
All right. Thank you very much. Alder Carter.
Hi, Sheila. I just wanted to know, you live in the area, so you know that this area is very diverse. And I was just curious if you're going to be carrying some ethnic food choices.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I live up off of Sirloin Strip up there. And the gal that runs the office up here in the mobile home park that I live in, she's helping me compose some letters in support of this and to get the people's input on what they would like certain spices, things that they might want to send the kids to the store to come and get instead of crossing the big street on Park Street there and putting their lives in danger, things that would be necessary for them, some essentials like a few toiletries, milk, eggs, bread, candy, ice cream maybe. I'm not sure about the ice cream, but other stuff.
Okay. And then also Capitol Lakes neighborhood is on the other side of the mobile home park, which is also very diverse. So are we looking at more than just spices, or is that where you're going to start out at?
Well, what we're doing is we're composing a letter. We're in the middle of doing this for the intent to open the mini mart and get the neighborhood input on it and see what they would like. Then this Melissa that runs the office here in the mobile home park that I live in, she is going to help print those off in Spanish and English. And she has like mass emailing so she can send it out to a lot of the neighborhood people and get their input. I know what I would like to carry in there, but I want to see what other people do, because the way I understand it, we have the Hispanic community, which I'm going to be their voice. That's mostly what's up here in the mobile home park. And then we have the Black community behind us. And then we have some Hmong up there. So we're a very diverse neighborhood, and we want to accommodate everybody and make everybody feel welcome. You know, come on in, get what you need. We'll accommodate if we can. And it sounds like Waqar is willing to work with me to help with the ordering and taking heed of what the people like and need.
Okay, and the other thing, and I forgot to ask Waqar, but I'll ask you, is what is going to be your policy about loitering, because that was an issue there.
Well, we discussed that in length, and we decided we're going to be making outside on the premises walks around the building. Like you said, we do have the security system with several split screens so we can see what's going on, but the physical appearance of going outside, letting the neighborhood see we're here, you know, we're here for you, but we're also not going to put up with anything not too kosher. And we were thinking, you know, what we can do with the rocks and the gardens and make the place look beautiful, but not threatening. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like maybe put up fences, but still, like, because I'm going to be the female aspect there, I want rose bushes and things out in front of the store, which when I lived in Arizona, we used cactus for a deterrent. Up here, we can use rose bushes with the thorns.
Okay. Well, that's one way. That's one way.
It's just an analogy. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think that stopped me from having any other questions. Thank you.
But we're going to clean the place up, and we're going to make it look beautiful, and we're going to put under new management, and we're going to not have too much backup traffic there. We're going to put up an entrance sign and an exit sign, and hopefully have them lit up or with reflectors on them. So we're going to have one-way traffic there. You know, you come in one driveway and out the other, and we're going to physically, personally be very public there.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez, and thank you, Alder Carter. What questions do other community members have for the applicant? All right. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Mr. Brady.
Yes. Ms. Sanchez, are you a full partner with Mr. Waqar?
Oh, sorry, Ms. Sanchez, I muted you again, so you're going to have to.
I'm unmuted.
Nicely done.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yep.
Okay. Somebody was trying to ask a question.
Yes, Pat Grady's my name. Are you a full partner with Mr. Manzoor?
I'm not a partner, but I'll be the manager of the store there, and I represent the neighborhood. I'm the voice for the neighborhood that I live in. And my point is to try and bring everyone together, provide something necessary and pleasant for the neighborhood, and have a place for them to come and get their essentials and what they need.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Sanchez? All right. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Committee discussion? Or a motion?
I like to move approval. I will say this, that I move this approval cautiously. I do support small businesses. They are the backbone of not only this city, but the United States. And they do provide an essential part of the economy, and they also provide first jobs and second chances. So I definitely support small businesses. I say cautiously based on our December interaction with Waqar and Ron. I think we left December loving Sheila. And with that Rosebush security system, I have to love her even more. But this has been a troubled little spot for a long, long time. I would love to see it turn around. With that, I would say to Waqar, Sheila, and Ron, the neighborhood and the community will be watching you closely. We want to make this a place that families can pop in and get milk and get eggs and, you know, a beer or two when sports, football, whatever is on, and they want that, enjoy that during the game. But we don't want it to turn into, for lack of a better word, a nightmare, because we just got rid of a nightmare. So my motion is to, I know it's a long motion, so let me shorten it. I move to approve it with caution. Thank you.
And before we get a second, Alder Carter, are you attaching any conditions to your approval?
The only condition I'm attaching is the one that we talked about, which was the later time on Sunday, which was agreed upon back in December. And personally, I don't know if we can do that, but I would say 2 people have to be on at all times in this location. And I don't know if I can do that.
So let's take them one at a time. So the Sunday start time, what time would you like that to be?
I would prefer it to be noon.
Okay. Mr. Manzoor?
The United States is one of the only countries in the world, as you all know, that has not had a seat at the table in the last.
Mr. Manzoor, so
yes,
Alder Carter is asking for a condition on your license that on Sundays you would not open before noon. Is this acceptable to you?
That is fine. Like that, you know, it will give me a chance to sleep a little longer, I guess. But no, I think the 12 o'clock is fine.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then Alder Carter, you were also talking about a potential condition to require that there be 2 people on. Assistant City Attorney Brist, can you speak to that?
Well, in general, parties, the city and the licensee have to agree to conditions. State law does not provide for a procedure for conditions, and we do this as an agreement between the licensee and the city. So I can't say that this is a prohibited condition because in effect, state law does not provide for conditions. So obviously you're increasing the overhead cost by having more than 1 employee. So the licensee should take that into consideration. But basically if the city and the licensee agreed to that condition, I don't see why it would not be the same as any other condition that we would place on a license.
Great, thank you. Mr. Manzoor, is that condition that you have 2 staff members working at all times that you are selling alcohol amenable? Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, like I said, depending on the time of the day, how the business runs, you know, I have to see whether there's 2 people needed or 3 people needed, or just 1 person can handle it for the certain time of the day. So based on the business model, I think that's where I have to see it. If it requires 2 people all the time, yes, I think I'm willing to do that. And of course, if it's needed more than 3 people, just to make sure that there is too much business coming in or too much traffic into it, then I will have to have maybe 3 people. So it's depending on the business model that is going to be as we open up in there. Yes.
So, Mr. Manzoor, if this is a condition on your license, then it would be a minimum, not a maximum. And you would have to have at least 2 people working at all times. Anytime that you weren't, you would be in violation of your liquor license and could lose the license. So don't agree to this unless it's something you are absolutely sure is fine.
To me, I think not knowing the business obviously is going to be overhead for the business. So to me, I think I will not agree on this because, like I said, if this is my business, of course, if it is having a lot of issues in there as far as not serving the customer fast enough, then I will have to have 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. But on the same token, if I have no business in there and I have 4 people sitting up there, then overhead cost is going to be more than my.
Of course, that makes sense. Alder Carter.
Then in that case, I would say that I would like to touch base with Waqar biannually then, the condition.
I have no problem with that.
So we have a motion to grant with the condition that just a moment, Mr. Grady. We have a motion to grant with the condition that the business not open before noon on Sundays. Mr. Grady, are you raising your hand to second the motion or to ask a question or make a comment?
I wanted to ask one more question, and that involved
Mr. Grady. Why don't we hear if somebody seconds the motion, and if so, you can be up first to discuss. So, is there a second to Alder Carter's motion, Ms. Westra? All right, we have a motion and a second, Mr. Grady.
Yes, cameras. Alder Carter mentioned cameras in there. Is that something that we want to include in that? I guess I'm asking Alder Carter what her preference is for this.
Security cameras are fine. You can include it.
Okay, any further questions, Mr. Grady?
No, I'm fine.
All right, next we've got Ms. Reese and then Alder Verveer.
I don't know if it makes a difference, but I think the cameras were mentioned in the application. So I don't know if that makes a difference for the motion. And then I also just wanted to note that we'll need the address updated for the application. That's all.
Very good point. Thank you. Any further comment? Okay.
Just that if you are going to make the security cameras a condition, that you specify that they be operational. Sounds dumb, but it happens.
Yep, I remember. Okay. Let's see. Alder Verveer, and then actually, Mr. Christensen, do you have a procedural question?
Yes. Just when it comes time for when discussion is done and questions are done, if we can just go over the conditions that, like, when we say cameras, what do we mean by cameras? What are we asking? That kind of stuff. Thanks.
Great. Okay. Alder Verveer, then Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually was hoping I could ask the question of the Alder of the District, Council President Carter, as it relates to her motion. So President Carter, I was curious, did you think when you were constructing the motion purposely to leave off any limitations as conditions as to products or product sizes? I know.
I thought I had that in the one in December. I think I said, I don't even know what the sizes are anymore. I can look up the memo I had in December, but I think it was 25, nothing smaller than 250, if I recall. I'll look up.
This is Waqar. I think we talk about the 50 milliliter bottle. I guess that's prohibited to sell it.
For you in terms of future actions or mechanisms.
So I thought that was in my letter in December. So yes, that should be in there. Yes.
Yeah, I apologize, President Carter. I don't have your December memo in front of me.
Oh, for God's
Try to
sake.
find that. I do have in front of me the last conditions that we had on West Badger liquor, and I also did a quick research on other conditions in Class A establishments in the 14th Aldermanic District. You probably referred to the last issued license that this addressed when you were developing your memo, which again, I apologize, I'm not referring immediately.
Yeah.
There were.
Can you go ahead and recite that?
My colleagues in the applicant's information, I see 4 conditions were on the last issued address of this.
He's also approached most members of Congress about that, as you all know. But he is going to leave it to members of Congress to carry out their constitutional duty and determine.
Go ahead, Alder Verfew.
That was my only question, Mr. Chair. I was just asking Council President Carter if she was considering including in her motion the somewhat customary conditions relating to products.
Yes, I wanted to, and if you have it up, can you read that for me? I just don't have it, and I can't find it. I'm not as fast as you, Alder Verveer.
Well, actually, I'm not that great tonight because on this historic day, I haven't actually been that organized. But again, I have the last license on here, but I haven't been able to find your memo from before the holidays. Does Mr. Christensen perhaps have that? I see it's not in Legistar either. So if you were asking me to find your memo from last month, I don't see it immediately in my email.
Definitely the size limit, so nothing, I would say under 250. I think that includes the airplane type bottles. And we also did no singles.
If you'd like, Mr. Chair, colleagues' indulgence in the applicant's knowledge, that I can quickly recite the 4 conditions on the last issued license at this address. That might be helpful. It would
by all means.
Okay, thank you.
It says, and this again was to Macro Inc. doing business as West Badger Liquor, and the expiration date on this license was June 30th, 2019. So the 4 conditions are as follows. Number 1, no sale of single bottles or single cans of beer or fermented malt beverages. Number 2, no sale of 40-ounce bottles of fermented malt beverages. Number 3, no sale of fortified wines. Number 4, the establishment shall not sell, dispense, or give away intoxicating liquor in the original container in amounts of 200 milliliters or less in volume. Intoxicating liquor shall not include wine in the original container with an alcohol content of 15% or less by volume. And that's the extent of the 4 conditions. Again, on the previous license.
Thank you, Alder Verveer. Alder Carter, you got your hand up. Did you have additional questions or comments?
No, I just want to make sure that Waqar will accept those.
To confirm Admiral Haynes as the Director of National Intelligence, she would become the first woman to head the U.S. intelligence community. 84 to 10.
Before we go back to him, are there Mr. Fletcher, did you still have any comments?
No, Mr. Chair. Alder Verveer covered exactly my point, which was going to be referring back to the previous conditions that were on this location. Thank you.
Okay.
Car, I'm trying to unmute you.
So as far as cameras go, is there anything we want other than that there are cameras and that they are operational?
Just that.
Okay, just a moment. Alter for Veer, what is the verb that you prefer for telling people to do things?
I'm agnostic, Mr. Chair. We've been around on this. I'm fine with may, which I believe is your preferred verb.
I'm a shall guy personally, but
I'm sorry, shall, correct?
Okay.
I'm sorry I haven't had a lot of sleep after a marathon council meeting last night and then watching the historic events in Washington.
Not a problem. Okay, so
isn't shall what you prefer?
Yeah, not as
yeah. I'm totally fine with that, but obviously it's President Carter's motion, not mine.
Okay, Alder Carter, do you want cameras inside, outside, or both? Okay, and see Alder Carter now.
Mr. Chair, I believe she may have stepped away to address the extra noise.
Okay. So I have, Alder Carter, were you talking about having cameras inside the licensed establishment, outside, or both?
I think it would be wise to have some outside and some inside. I just think that would be wise for this location.
Okay, in that case, what do you think of this set of conditions, which, if approved, I will email to Mr. Christensen? Number one, no sale of single bottles or single cans of beer or fermented malt beverages. Number two, no sale of 40-ounce bottles of fermented malt beverages. Number three, no sale of fortified wine. Number four, the establishment shall not sell, dispense, or give away fermented malt beverages in the original container in amounts less than the amount contained in a six-pack of 12-ounce bottles or cans. This is only applicable to fermented malt beverages, which fall into the following categories of brands: domestic premium, domestic sub-premium, which includes value and economy brands, malt liquor, and similarly situated imported brands. Condition 5, the establishment shall not open before noon on Sundays. And condition 6, the license holder shall maintain video cameras inside and outside the establishment and shall save recordings from that system for a minimum of 10 days.
That is fine.
And Ms. Westra, the seconder of the motion, those conditions work for you? Excellent. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of granting item 11 with the conditions I just enumerated, indicate by remaining silent. Those opposed, raise your hand, please. I see no hands. So, Mr. Clerk, please record a unanimous vote for that, and we'll move on to item 12, and I'll email this to you. So, item 12, what have we got?
I'll jump in. The first registrant is Ross Grunwald of Oriole Lane, representing Hy-Vee, 5820 Westtown Parkway. In support, available to answer questions. Also Casey Bonjour of Westtown Parkway, also representing Hy-Vee and support, available to answer questions. And KJ Harnack, Westtown Parkway, representing Hy-Vee in support, available to answer questions.
Right. So everyone is available to answer questions and not wishing to speak. Committee, what questions do you have for any of these registrants?
I should point out, Mr. Chair, as well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other registrants.
Oh, okay.
But they're all but one are in opposition. One of them representing Brennan's Market.
Okay. Any questions for the first, Mr. Fletcher?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like the applicants to provide an overview for the committee as to their proposed operational plan. That would be a good, I think, starting point for the discussion.
Hello.
Mr. Grunwald, go ahead.
Thank you. I believe I talked to the city clerk's office earlier today. I believe I misregistered when reading that. So I just want to make that clear. I apologize for that confusion on that. So for the overall operation of be a standalone Hy-Vee wine and spirits store located at the former Pier 1 at 7475 Mineral Point Road. We can operate Monday through Sunday, in the hours of 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Selling wine, spirits, and beer. Also a limited selection of grocery and non-foods items. Grocery and non-foods would be including, but not limited to, glassware, wine openers, wine bags, wine boxes for the non-foods. And then on the food side, salty snacks, some prepared meals, pizzas, wings, possibly sushi, items like that to accompany the wine and spirits and beer items. We have a minimum of 2 people on site at any one time throughout the day. And is one of the main things. Obviously from there, there'd definitely be times where it'd be 3, 4, even 5 people for that business. There would be a tasting bar be for tasting and educational purposes, bringing in local vendors, distillers to educate area residents of the processes and the differences between the different products in those different categories. Also, there will be a humidor for selling single cigars, and also tobacco of selling packs of cigarettes.
Thank you. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? Alder Skidmore.
Thank you. I'll have several questions. First off, I want to thank Ross and his team for coming here to make the presentation. He made a presentation to neighborhood groups on Monday, and I know a number of people are going to be here to make their comments from the neighborhood. I'm aware of that, and I've received emails. One question I have is about the security, and that is something that I'm concerned about. Is there's a minimum of 2. How many entrances into the building will there be, are going to be available and functional? Is that 2 or more?
For customers, it'd be 1. There would be a fire exit which should be secured, and then also a receiving door that would be in the back alleyway for receiving product.
Okay, and can you describe again what kind of a security plan you're proposing, particularly about cameras in the parking lot and in the building?
Yes, as far as cameras in the parking lot, after speaking with yourself and Captain Patton from the West Police District, we've actually went back and added additional cameras. There will be one on, or actually 4 cameras, one based on each corner of the facility. covering both the front of the store, the parking lot, the back alleyway, kind of behind the facility. So that area, every portion of the parking lot that would be intended to be serving our portion of that space would be covered. So 4 cameras on the exterior and then 16 cameras interior, covering both the doorways and really throughout the entire facility. That's about 9,500 square feet.
Okay, that's all I have. I'm very interested in hearing from the registrants. That's all the questions I have.
Great, thank you, Alder Skidmore. Committee, any further questions for the applicant? Okay, hearing none, let's hear from the first of the registrants from the community.
Chair, I have none of them wishing to speak.
Oh, I see. My apologies. Let's see. We should still get their names and positions, and members of the committee can ask any questions they would like. Mr. Christensen, could you read those off, please?
Thank you, and I will also, I will also ask in case I miss one here. But so I'm showing opposed, not wishing to speak. Janet Hirsch from Cedar Creek Trail, Sharon Genthy from Oak Creek Trail, Judy Bluell from Oak Creek Trail, Brock Cummings from North Cleveland Street in Poinette, and that's for Brennan's Market, Catherine McComb from Winterset Circle, and Jane Meyer from Randolph Drive in opposition, and one in support, and that's Heather Garrity, I believe, from Fisherona Road.
Thank you. Alder Carter.
I have a question for the applicant. Is that appropriate time?
Sure.
My question is, this is an extension of your liquor store that's actually in the grocery store, or are you not going to sell liquor in the grocery store anymore?
This would be an extension of the store on Whitney Way. We'll still look to sell alcohol still in the Whitney Way store. Just looking at adding a additional wine spirits location at this location.
And is there going to be any, and maybe you've already said it and I wasn't listening carefully, but is there going to be any food there?
Yes, there will be a small selection of grocery items, mainly items that would accompany wine, spirits, or beer. Looking at salty snacks, pretzels, chips, items like that. Then also pizzas, be fresh pizzas, chicken wings, sushi would be some of the items that would look to be accompanying with that. And then also the mixers, so soda, tonic waters, items like that, which would be mixed with liquor. But it would not carry items like milk, eggs, bread.
Okay, thank you. That's what I missed the first time you were talking. Thanks.
Certainly.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Alder Skidmore.
Yes, I know that some of the registrants that have registered available to ask questions or answer questions are here, and they were at the meeting as well on Monday. I would like to ask a couple of them some questions, or basically one basic question. First one for Janet Hirsch, who's a president of the Tamarack Homeowners Association. If she could, elaborate on her statement from the meeting and how she feels about this, and if she could elaborate a little bit.
There's no Janet Hirsch in the list. There's a phone number that's not listed. I could see if maybe that's Janet?
Okay, well then how about Jane Meyer?
There is no Jane Meyer.
Okay, is there anybody physically present?
There's no one on the attendee list that was just listed by the clerk.
Okay, well then based on that, you know, I can't ask any questions. And I'm in the position that when we get to discussion, I will express the opinion that they expressed at the meeting and expressed in the emails that they've sent, which I think have been distributed to ALRC members. So I will wait till discussion to bring that forward.
Thank you, Alder Skidmore. Are there any further questions for any of the registrants on this item? I don't see any, so let's begin discussion. Would you like to start, Alder Skidmore?
Yes, I must say I'm kind of disappointed that nobody showed up in person to express the opinions that they've been expressing to me personally, calling and through emails. To be clear, there is opposition for this liquor store in that location, and I will relay the opinions that I was given and which I also share. But since they're not here for you to question, you know, that's a position I'm in. First off, that there was one comment that was made. There were several comments made. Once, one is that a number of individuals are, you know, favorably impressed with Hy-Vee and their operation. So that's not the question of their opposition to this liquor store. Their opposition to the liquor store is the location and the size and the fact that it's freestanding and it's 9,000 square feet plus or minus. And I've shared this concern as well when the site became available. It's been expressed that, and I can't cite exactly how many are there, but I think that there's maybe 15 or 16 liquor outlets in the immediate vicinity, including one in Metcalf's Grocery, Total Wine, Steve's Liquor, Brennan's, and then there's a number of others where beer and other types of alcohol are for sale. Secondly, there are several neighborhoods which are challenged or at risk, which I could describe. You're probably familiar with. You've read about them and heard about them, that this liquor store is quite possibly at the nexus of these neighborhoods, challenged neighborhoods, which would provide another source of alcohol very conveniently within walking distance. And that is of great concern to me, and that is the source of my main opposition. I'm very familiar with Hy-Vee. I've supported other proposals that they've had, but I can't support this one for that reason. It's about location. And I know that if Jane Meyer were here, she would express about seeing liquor bottles up and down Randolph, which is just to the north of the store on the other side of Mineral Point Road. So that's one of them. Janet Hirsch has expressed that. Kathy McComb from Walnut Grove has expressed that. So that is the gist of my concern and my opposition for this. I am not objecting to Hy-Vee and how they do business, but I'm very concerned about the location, and I cannot support it for that reason. Today, I reached out to planning staff and zoning staff to see what they thought about this location and what the future is. And I believe you should have received an email very late from Tim Parks from planning. I had reached out to Tucker from zoning and Tim and Heather Stouter from city planning as to how they felt. I didn't ask for an appearance and I didn't ask for a written opinion. Matt gave me some information that I will pass on verbally, and that is it's very similar to what Tim put in writing, is that this is like many other strip malls, it's a very challenged area, and that the stores and such to the south of this unit, the further south you get, more are open. One has a church, others are, like I say, vacant, and planning is looking that this potentially, possibly will be a redevelopment site with a different zoning characteristic. But that is yet to be determined because we're in the process of doing the Odana Westtown corridor plan, and this is right on the edge of it. And I believe that others are, planning staff is looking at it, but that's nothing that we have for right now, but that still raises my concern. In talking to or reading the memo from Tim in his consultation with Heather Stouter, that kind of confirms what I was thinking about the future of the site, that it is potentially in transition. Another concern that I have is that there are a number of dense neighborhoods surrounding this, including a new neighborhood or a new building that was just approved. It's workforce development at the old Pizzeria Ono site, which is a block or two away, which will be a number of workforce apartments. And further to the west is Tree Lane. The family housing on the other end is Wexford Ridge. To the north is Randolph Court. And so there's quite a dense neighborhood that I feel, a great concern for, about having another alcohol outlet that close. So, that's that is my concern. And in talking to Captain Patton, and I know that he said that he was going to express this to Captain Donahue, so she can weigh in here too. He said his main concern is more with traffic management outside of, traffic management, people coming in and out into the site, that it's kind of a strange and busy intersection. That's something that a number of people are concerned about. I believe that planning staff are concerned about traffic within the parking lot, but that's just the way it is. It is set up, and they said that they might have recommendations as to how to improve that or make it safer. What Captain Patton did not say from his standpoint, in my interpretation, is he did not feel that this would, this liquor store here would, constitute a particular neighborhood risk. But I would like Captain Donahue to comment on that directly, as that would be more appropriate. So my concern is having another liquor store here, and it is and I think how I vote. I do not take these things lightly, and I'm very serious about my concern for public safety, and I do have a concern in my district with my constituents. So that's about what I have to say, and I will yield at this point, and I'm hoping at some point Captain Donahue can comment.
All right, thank you, Alder Skidmore. There is no one in the queue. Captain Donahue.
I will share what Captain Patton passed along to me and asked me to share. He did want to acknowledge the concerns of the neighborhood and the folks who met recently, indicating that their primary concerns, like Alder Skidmore said, were density concerns and the number of licensed establishments that allow for carry-out alcohol service in the area, and traffic concerns inside the parking lot, and of course at the busy intersection. He said that there's concerns about competition with other valued businesses, including Steve's and Brennan's, and I think the Total Wine was mentioned. there were some concerns mentioned that seem to probably be a bit outdated. There was a concern about weapons offenses and groups that previously gathered at a licensed establishment. However, that establishment is now closed and has not been an issue. The issue that Alder Skidmore mentioned regarding garbage and trash in the area of the area convenience stores, and mentioned that a resident asked about reduced hours. However, there isn't anything more on that. Captain Patton said that from the police district perspective, other than adding to the existing traffic issues, he does not believe that it presents significant concerns to the PD. And I think Mr. Grunwald explained that he didn't believe that the traffic coming in and out of the parking lot at any one time would present a significant traffic issue. However, I obviously would allow him to speak for himself on that matter. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Captain Donahue. I'd like to remind the committee members that our charter is to issue or not liquor licenses in accordance with the health, safety, and welfare of the community, and that concerns about competition with existing businesses are well outside our purview. Mr. Fletcher and then Ms. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to follow up on Captain Donahue's comment with a question to the applicant to expand a little bit more. I mean, reviewing the correspondence from the community, hearing the further discussion this evening, Mr. Grunwald, I think my question, Mr. Chair, for Mr. Grunwald would be, can he expand a little bit further in terms of why he doesn't see traffic and traffic management being an issue at this location, given, I think, the potential for significant redevelopment and the existing kind of traffic issues that have been raised?
Mr. Grunwald.
Sorry. Thank you for that question. I mean, being a longtime resident of Madison, I do understand that the concern of traffic on Mineral Point Road in that area. I think there's two things that I think of on this topic. One of them is that I think sometimes our name of Hy-Vee can give a stigma of the amount of traffic that could possibly be going through this location. We have a similar store in Prairie Village in the Kansas City market. A normal Hy-Vee store would have about 30,000 customers a week through, where that store is going to be more in the 1,500 to 2,000 customers a week. So dramatically lower customer count. Yes, that is still a significant amount of customers. So I'm not putting any, not taking any less consideration. But also on the other side of any business that does go into this facility is going to increase traffic count for that intersection. So I think it's something that is of concern, but I also think there's, no matter what happens there's going to be increased customer count or traffic with any business going into that facility.
Mr. Grunwald, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Fletcher.
So just a follow-up question. You referenced kind of one of your other stores. Have you, in terms of more local sort of market comparisons, have you kind of analyzed that from what that would look like in the Madison area? I mean, are you expecting a similar amount of traffic just purely based on kind of what you're doing at another city versus what you would expect to do locally here in Madison, given this market?
Unfortunately, right now, this is kind of a newer endeavor with the standalone wine and spirits stores. So there aren't a whole lot of other stores to look to. That's our best one at this point. We just had another store open in the Twin Cities area in Maplewood just before Christmas. Obviously, it's too early to get any good ideas of what the traffic count looks like that. The reason I referenced the one in Prairie Village is just there's different alcohol laws in the state of Kansas. So that's really our only one to look towards. And that store is a different concept and somewhat just of the layout and the design of it. That store being older, but that's our best one that we can call to for calling on customer count and what our expected traffic flow is at this time.
And I think my last question to you, Mr. Grimwald, is then, and maybe you covered it earlier and I do apologize, but what attracted you to this location?
I think part of the reason that this location was picked is the size of the space. I mean, the space that we're looking for is kind of an odd space, being in that 9,000 square foot range. There aren't a lot of spaces of that size. It's kind of an in-between size. And then also the location, as referenced with the traffic, it is a high traffic area. So having plenty of through traffic to call in on customers is the other reason that this area is looked at. But a lot of it was also going back to the size of the space. There's other ones that are also in the works that are even a little bit larger size in some other markets as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, we do have one of the people in opposition now in the attendee list, Jane Meyer.
Okay. Thank you very much. I've got Ms. Reese and then Alder Skidmore, who might well choose to call on her. Ms. Reese.
Thanks. I just want to point out that we need to be careful of assuming that adding a business will be problematic just because of the composition of the neighborhoods around it. I think especially in this case, when we have a location with a number of liquor stores already, whether the addition of one more will affect the health and safety of the community. If we have an existing problem, we've already heard that where locations that had problems have been closed, or we reevaluated their licenses. So we have a means to deal with that if the location should become problematic. If there is an existing issue in the community, then we should be talking about reducing the number. But I don't think one more here is going to pose a significant risk in this case.
All right, thank you, Ms. Reese. Alder Skidmore. You're muted, Paul.
Janet wants to. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that Jane is going to be speaking, and that I understand Jane is trying to log on too. I have one thing that I forgot to mention, which was anecdotal from zoning administrator Matt Tucker. He seemed to recall that there was some sort of a restriction possibly on the sale of tobacco in this area, but I can't confirm that. He said that it was something that Soglin did a number of years ago to restrict it. I can't speak to that, but I also want to mention that I am very familiar with this neighborhood. I have represented this area for 20 years, and O'Grady's just pulled the plug on their operation after a homicide and multiple problems. So they shut down their licensed operation. So I would say that it's going to get a little better because they left. So, I'm very familiar with the problems, and I'm not going to go into a great deal of debate, but the comments I made were made for based on experience and numbers and discussion with the people around as well as the police. So I'm looking forward to hearing from Jane and Janet.
All right, thank you, Alder Skidmore. And we've got Jane Meyer. You here with us?
Oh, yes. I'm unmuted, I hope.
Yep.
This new Zoom thing is new for all of us, I think. We're getting good at it, though. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I had been listening in, and I guess I didn't realize that I did it wrong.
No problem.
I can't. My Zoom stuff is doing weird things. In any case, thank you for this opportunity. I had sent an email note in earlier regarding my concerns about having a new facility there. I am very concerned about the traffic, the ingress and egress out of that parking lot. Traffic's backed up quite a bit, very, very frequently, with people trying to make turns in and out of that parking lot, and left turns across traffic or right turns, depending on which way you're going. And then with that new construction that's going on very soon, that's going to dump more traffic onto D'Onofrio, which is a very small street that a lot of people are using as a cut through. I'm also not sure we need another alcohol selling facility, even though this is supposed to be kind of upscale. I think it copies very much of what Brennan's already does in the cider facility place they have over there, with tastings and educational things that go on. And I know Steve's does that as well. So I just have my doubts about having another facility. In addition, I just live down the block, a very short way. And we are always having people, drop liquor bottles and things, in our neighborhood and down our street, through the cemetery, it's a mess. So I also have concerns with having, now more fried chicken buckets or whatever other types of things if people are going to buy food and leave and that kind of stuff. I don't know if that will happen. But anyway, I really like Hy-Vee. I think they're a great company. I just don't think this is the best place for this facility.
Thank you very much. Any questions for this registrant? I don't see any. Ms. Westra.
No questions. I just want to make a motion.
By all means.
I would like to move approval.
Okay. Is there a second? Ms. Reese, discussion?
Mr. Chair, I don't, there's another attendee in the list.
Oh, there is. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Let's hear from them as well. Oh, is this
is
Hirsch?
Yes, correct.
Yes. Let's give her the opportunity as well. Ms. Hirsch.
Hi. Thank you for letting us speak. Yes, I also live in the neighborhood, and I attended the community meeting that was held on Monday night, which I appreciate that we had the opportunity to express our concerns. Yeah, our concerns are the increasing number of alcohol sales outlets in our neighborhood. We took a brief survey and found that there were about 16 carry-out locations, not counting just the restaurants. As far as concerns too, I think Jane pointed out that that we're only about a block from that site on Mineral Point Road, and we've in the last several years, yes, we've had more incidents on Tree Lane. With speeding cars, with people, I think, drinking and driving, throwing their bottles out onto the street, that type of thing. So that's not an atmosphere that we like. If you do approve this license, I would hope that maybe you would restrict or eliminate the sale of single servings or small bottles of alcohol. And I guess the other concern is the hours. They had listed on the application 8 o'clock in the morning until 9 at night, which is really kind of contrary to what the rest of the neighborhood brings forward. But I think the main concern is just another additional outlet for alcohol. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hirsch. Committee, any questions for this registrant? All right, we have a motion to grant from Ms. Westra, seconded by Ms. Reese. Ms. Westra, would you like to speak to your motion?
I think that with anything that we've had with the discussion, they're not in our purview of reasons that we can deny this application.
Thank you very much. Alder Skidmore.
Thank you. I indicated I will be not supporting this. I will be voting against it. And I do not agree with the maker of the motion as the alder of the district. I brought this forward with the for the reason that it is not in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of this district with adding additional alcohol. And you know, we can discuss, you know, what constitutes health, safety, and welfare. I know on Winnebago Street that means not selling condoms, but that's a different story for a different appeal. Anyway, if this is going to go forward, I would hope that we would be able to place the same reasonable restrictions that we had on the last licenses, that we would prohibit the sale of small bottles of alcohol, which could be purchased, consumed, and then disposed of. That I think that that's reasonable. So that's what I would propose and request.
Ms. Westra and Ms. Reese, what is your opinion on the condition that Alder Skidmore is talking about? It is one that we frequently put on many establishments.
Does Brennan's, Total Wine, and Steve's have this condition?
Mr. Christensen, do you know? About
not with great rapidity, but I can look it up.
Okay. While he's looking that up, why don't we continue the discussion and we can circle back to this point. Alder Carter. You're muted, Sherry.
Oh, for God's sake.
I hear you.
Oh. That mute button is getting on my nerves tonight. I was just going to say two things. Number one, that this location is closer to the neighborhoods than the other locations, which are, I think, Total Wine is in the mall. However, I would be open to using the standard restrictions that we used on the last license. But I also think that, as a side note, I think that Hy-Vees would be very responsible in the selling of in their operations in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Mr. Christensen, have you been able to dig up anything yet?
Brennan's has no conditions on their, on Watts Road has no conditions on their Class A alcohol license. Steve's on University, I'm just looking for right now.
Let's see, I'm sorry, I don't remember what it is.
It's on Junction Road.
Oh, okay.
Road, yeah.
There's a gas station on the corner of Mineral Point and is it D'Onofrio or Westfield?
Yeah, Quick Trip.
Yeah. So that would also be worth looking at. That's probably closer to this site than anything else.
Yeah, let's see here.
So Quick Trip is 7502.
There's actually 2 Quick Trips there, and it looks like Total Wine does not have any restrictions.
Quick Trip at 7502 Mineral Point has
no restrictions.
No.
No.
Okay. So, further discussion. If there is no further discussion, Mr. Christensen, will you please call the roll?
Certainly. So on granting, Alder Carter.
Aye.
Alder Carter, aye. Mr. Donnelly, did you want to wait until after?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Fletcher.
Aye.
Fletcher, aye. Mr. Grady.
No.
Mr. Grady, no. Ms. Reese.
Aye.
Reese, aye. Alder Skidmore.
No.
Alder Skidmore, no. Alder Revere.
No.
Alder Revere, no. Ms. Westra.
If I'm reading the shape of her mouth,
Sorry.
Aye.
Ms. Westra.
I thought I hit unmute. It's getting to all of us today. Aye.
Ms. Westra, aye. And that's 4 ayes and 3 noes.
I will not elect to vote to make this a tie. So motion passes.
That is my understanding.
So item 12 is granted. And we are all done with that one. Thank you, everyone, for providing your input on that. Item 13, new license for 7 Seas Liquor at 1763 Thierer Road. And do we have the applicant here with us? Kania Lal, let's hear from you.
Yes, everybody. My name is Kenny Alal, and I live in Madison. I have a 2 liquor store, one in the north side and one in Marshall. So I'm acquiring a new license for 1763 Thierer Road for 7 Seas Liquor.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? Ms. Westra.
What is the liquor store you own on the north side?
Yes, ma'am. It's 2801 North Sherman Avenue.
Is that the one by Willie Street Co-op?
Correct.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Westra. And what other questions do committee members have for this applicant? Do we have any other registrants on this item? Captain Donahue.
I'm wishing to speak.
Can we just get hear from him firsthand what his plans are and
by all means
all that good stuff?
Yes,
please?
absolutely. Absolutely, ma'am. But yes, my plan is going to be the same atmosphere that I'm faced on Northside Liquor, which is 2801. So I know I'll have to face the same kind of issues there, but I'm ready for it because when I took over this store, I had issues in the beginning, but now we have no complication. I cleaned Panhandler. I cleaned the homeless people right here. I had 16 cameras coming to that location. And previously I talked yesterday with the elder person, Mr. Samba, and Captain Mr. Gary, Kathy, and I proposed that 6 camera will be at the parking lot, which is 2 cameras in my hallway, and then 4 will be facing the parking space, so monitoring it 24 hours, and facing the monitor to the parking space, so people can see it, what's going around the parking lot. And that's exactly what I did in my Northside liquor store. Before, previous owner, he had a lot of issues. And since I took over that, I cleaned that. I put signage out there, panhandlers, cameras out there so they can see themselves. So what they're doing, and consistently we talk to them, and now we don't have any issues. My cameras has helped I've been robbed in the last year in January. So we have my camera system. They are very so high def that it helped to get those two people they robbed me. You know, they are now I think is 20 years in behind the jail in Fed prison. So those kind of things I'm proposing it, and that's exactly the way I did on Northside liquor store.
Excellent. Thank you. Any further questions, Captain Donahue?
Not at this time.
All right. With Ms. Reese and then Mr. Fletcher.
So we have some communication from the Alder and Captain Nelson from the area available to us coming on December 22nd, stating that they're not in support of this location. For Mr. Lal, I was just wondering if you had any updated conversations.
Yes, ma'am. We did talk yesterday to Mr. Samba and Captain Mr. Gary Cathy. And then we talked over Zoom about 1 hour. And then they was so excited about my plan that I have, that I'm approaching them. And they said they will sign off to the council meeting.
Did you speak to Captain Nelson?
The Captain Nelson never called back, but Mr. Captain Gary Cathy, which is he been communicating with me.
Okay, thank you.
Captain Nelson retired.
That's a good reason not to respond.
Okay. Alder Carter.
Yeah, my question to you is that this is already a struggling neighborhood, as you well are aware. So you talked about the precautions that you took on the north side. What precautions, other than your security camera, are you going to take on this side of town? And then also, are you located between the motel and Porchlight?
The motel, I think, yes, it's a Super 8, I think. And then I'm right next to the dollar store.
You're at the over by there.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you picked this location, did you know that the area was struggling?
Yes, ma'am. I was well aware of that. Yes, I see that there is issues that they have it right there at the shopping center.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same situation that I have had it here in north side, which is the dollar store right next to me and a Billy Co-op right next to me. So like I said, you know, I did my side of the job and cleaned my side of the problem that I had. You know, so I know I'm gonna face the same thing there, but I'm well aware of that. So that's why I'm gonna come up with the same plan that I have on my north side. So I'm very confident that yes, it shouldn't be any a big issue for me.
Okay, thank you. And what is the neighborhoods are you trying to attract to your grocery store? Are you just looking at people coming out of the strip malls?
Yes, ma'am. Mall and the strip. I'm already in the strip mall anyway. I think there is some residential across the street behind the Office Depot, and some probably maybe behind what is that, a car wash place. So and mostly I think it's the people who travel around and come to the mall and shopping center.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Alder Carter. Captain Donahue, you have questions for the applicant?
I do, thank you, Mr. Chair. Sir, are you saying that Captain Gary said that he was in support of this?
Because when we talked, we all three was on the Zoom, but Captain he did say he still have a concern about the panhandler and homeless people that they are there.
Okay. Yeah, my understanding so Captain Nelson did, like Ms. Reese said, he did provide some input earlier prior to his departure. He had concerns about this license, and Captain Gary took over as the captain of the East Police District just 2 weeks ago. So he expressed concerns to me about this license. He indicated that he was going to tell the applicant that he was not in support of this license because, as Alder Carter pointed out, this neighborhood is rather fragile right now. And I don't want to leave out the fact that this location is very close to the border of the North Police District. And while I didn't ask Captain Austin specifically for his opinion on this, I will just add that it's very close to Rindle Park, which has been an area of great concern to the North Police District, and I think the city at whole, for some ongoing issues that we've had at the park all times of the year. That there is currently an issue with panhandling at many of the intersections around the mall, and many of those folks unfortunately are struggling with drug and alcohol issues in addition to some issues of homelessness. So I want to be clear that I think that Captain Gary understands that the applicant, Captain Gary, came from the North Police District where the applicant's other licensed establishment is, and so he is quite familiar with the applicant, and I think there's no ill will for the current licensed establishment, but does not support an additional liquor store in this area because of the fragility of the neighborhood.
Right. Thank you, Captain Donahue. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? All right. Do we have anyone else registered to speak on this issue?
No one registered to speak. We have Jeffrey Glazer of Rosa Road in support, available to answer questions, representing Baines Brothers LLC. Chris Welch from East Washington Avenue in opposition, not wishing to speak. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Committee, what's your pleasure? A motion would be in order. Alder Verveer, then Ms. Westra.
Thank you. Actually, a question before a motion. Could I just confirm with Mr. Christensen and any of my committee colleagues here, have we heard from the alder of the district more recently than that email that is in our packets from Alderperson Balde, where he stated his opposition? Has there been any recent communication from him?
I don't think so, but I'm just double checking.
Yeah, thank you. I certainly don't remember seeing anything, but I certainly...
Yeah, December 22nd is the last communication I see, just the same one you see in Legistar.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alder Verveer. Ms. Westra.
So I was doing some looking around and I see that at least I can't find any liquor store establishments in the area that have any conditions on their license for what they can sell or not sell. My biggest concern with this one is its proximity to Pawn America, which is now next door in the old Rockies location on East Wash. And the fragility of that neighborhood, along with the Motel 6 and being able to sell single use airline bottles, things like that, where people can sell something cheap, get money, go get alcohol. And I think that's a cycle that we could see repeat a lot with the location of all of this. So I would like to propose that we move approval, but with the conditions that we put on the previous one 2 ago, the Badger Road one. I don't remember what those conditions are. You have those all written down somewhere.
And I'd be happy to share them again.
If you could share those, that would be great. So that's the motion I'm working towards.
Let's see. So the conditions on that were no sale of single bottles or single cans of beer or fermented malt beverages, no sale of 40-ounce bottles of fermented malt beverages, no sale of fortified wines, and the establishment shall not sell, dispense, or give away fermented malt beverages in the original container in amounts less than the amount contained in a 6-pack of 12-ounce bottles or cans. This is only applicable to fermented malt beverages, which fall into the following categories of brands: domestic premium, domestic sub-premium, which includes value and economy brands, malt liquor, and similarly situated imported brands.
Yep, I'm good with that.
All right, so we have a motion to grant with conditions. Is there a second to this motion? I would remind people, part of the point of having seconds for motions is that if no one else supports it, we can just move on to something else. Not that I have a problem with this motion, just second it if you support it. If there is none, then the motion dies for lack of a second. So would someone care to make another motion? Alder Carter.
And I was going to second it for discussion purposes. Oh.
So Alder Carter, do you want to make a motion?
No, I was trying to find my raised hand screen. I was going to second it for discussion purposes.
So this is something that's come up at LRC before. When you say second for discussion purposes, do you mean that you support it or that you're opposed to it, but that you'd like to have a conversation?
I would like to have a conversation.
So it is absolutely your right to second if you want to. Yeah.
Let's just go with it.
Sounds good. Okay.
All right.
So the floor is yours.
You know, I agree with Amy regarding the area and some of the conditions that needs to be on it. I just want to be careful, and I like to hear some input from some of the other commissioners on this area that they might be a little bit more familiar with than I am.
All right, Ms. Reese and then Alder Revere.
I want to, so what I'm struggling with here is going with our discussion based on Hy-Vee and thinking about looking at things in an equitable way. The one thing that gives me pause here is that sounds like the police captain knows the owner or the applicant, and so that changes things a little bit. Also, the points that Ms. Westra made about the surrounding areas. I'd also like to ask Mr. Chair if it's appropriate. I was able to obtain information from the alder, but I don't know if it's appropriate to share that.
As long as it's something that can be entered into the record, it's fine.
Okay, so I did just double check with the alder, who said that following the discussion yesterday, given the provisions the applicant suggested to deal with his concerns, he's in support. So just changing his denial from our packet material.
Okay, thank you. Could you capture that communication and send it to the licensing email address, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Alder Verveer and then Alder Carter.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, would you mind perhaps sharing your screen again with the proposed conditions? My question about the proposed conditions is, am I correct that they do not cover spirits in any way? And is that what we did with is this the exact language we adopted for West Badger Road?
This was the language adopted on Badger Road.
With that said, and I realize we're on a different agenda item, I think we might need to reconsider the West Badger Road matter, because there was speaking for myself only, that we might want to reconsider, but there was a condition on that previously issued license at that location relating to spirits and the size of spirits, i.e. airplane bottles, etc., which I guess I apologize, I didn't catch that did not get captured with the motion for Badger Road. So with that said, moving on back to the east side here, I think that if we are going to recommend granting a license, that we should address the issue of spirits as well, and not just malt beverages.
All right. Any further comment on this item, Alder Verveer?
Well, I guess the only other thing I'll say, Mr. Chair, is that it gives me great pause to support granting a license if the captain of the police district sounds like is pretty adamantly opposed at this time to granting this license, and not just because of location, but as if I'm understanding Captain Donahue, and I realize it's a bit secondhand since Captain Donahue's our communicator, but it appears that in part that opposition was based on personal, professional knowledge of the applicant. Maybe if I could I don't want to put words in Captain Gary's mouth, or Captain Donahue, did I understand that correctly? Is it your understanding that Jamar is part of his concern was the other location in the city of Madison on the North Sherman Avenue that the applicant operates?
Captain Donahue?
No, I don't think that he takes exception to how the applicant's other establishment is run. His concern is based on, and I think maybe just the opposite. I'm not certain. He didn't say that there was any specific problem with the North Sherman Avenue location, although we do have a lot of, we have concerns and difficulty at that strip mall. His concerns are the homeless population in the area, the difficulties and troubles at Rindle Park, the hotels in close proximity that have some struggles. There's some transitional housing in the area, people with AODA issues not too far away. And I think Ms. Westra pointed out a good another example of just kind of that area seems to be really struggling recently, and anybody who takes a trip up to Easttown Mall almost on any given day can see people loitering and panhandling at many of the intersections surrounding the mall. So I think his concern is just adding additional potential for problems in that neighborhood.
Thank you very much, Captain. I really appreciate that. I feel badly that I misheard you and thought that part of Captain Gary's concern was related to this particular operator.
No, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that.
All right, thank you, Captain Donahue. Alder Rivera, do you have further questions or comments?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, Alder Carter.
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you, Captain Donahue.
I also just wanted to add to what Alder Revere was saying. I too thought that there was a limit on the size, and I think Alder Carter mentioned that. I think that certainly was her intention. And while I stand by what Captain Gary's request is to have this license denied, I would certainly request that the size and volume of anything that was allowed to be sold here would be restricted.
Of course. Okay, what further questions or comments do people have? Okay, so I am not good at multitasking. And during the discussion for 714 West Badger, I was trying to pull up the conditions that we frequently apply to establishments in order to limit problematic sales. The part below here, so is, I believe, what we frequently apply. Alder Verveer, I'd appreciate if you could scan that and see if it's in line with your experience. My bad, I wasn't able to focus on two things well enough to put it together better. So we've only got the first of those on 714 West Badger. I believe the remaining ones are the ones that were previously at that address. So at this point, we have a motion before us from Ms. Westra to grant the current application, which is item 13, 7 Seas Liquor at 1763 Thera Road, with the set of conditions identical to the ones for 714 West Badger. Ms. Westra, would you like to substitute instead the standard conditions that we apply to restrict problematic sizes of serving sizes?
Yes, please.
Excellent. Alder Carter, as the seconder of that motion, are you comfortable with that change?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Alder Verveer.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate your multitasking, Chairperson Donnelly. I'm very impressed that you try to facilitate us to this extent. It goes above and beyond the call of chair, so thank you. I just wanted to confirm it because you had posed a question, and although I think I'll need eyeglasses to confirm every word of this, what I'm able to read appears to absolutely be what some of my colleagues that have served on the committee for some time remember was negotiated many years ago. As a reminder for my longer time colleagues and for our newer colleagues, the industry met several years ago with some representatives of the committee and our previous alcohol policy coordinator and came up with this language that the Chairperson Donnelly is now sharing his screen with. So the language is, kind of very much in the vocabulary of those in the industry, and this was input from both owners and sales reps for the distributors. But yes, this is the language that is on every Class A license in the core downtown campus area, as well as other areas in the city. And with that said, as it relates to West Badger Road, I shouldn't speak for the alder of the district, but I think we probably should revisit at the end of our agenda reconsideration of that item.
Sure. Alder Verveer, as the alder whose district I believe has the most establishments with this set of conditions, what benefits have you observed as a result of them?
Well, I think that, thank you for the question. I think it would probably be better addressed by Captain Donahue, as she lives, public safety every day professionally. I would say that the number of complaints I've received from both businesses and constituents and other stakeholders has declined since these were imposed, several years ago now. And some of the same issues, frankly, that have been discussed on this item and the issues on North Sherman Avenue are the types I'm speaking of. So it certainly isn't a panacea or something that will end all problems, but I haven't received as many complaints, and I would also hasten to add that there haven't been any complaints from the industry, to my knowledge, at least that I've heard, about these conditions being overly restrictive.
We had a point a few years ago when we brought in all of the remaining establishments in the core downtown area that didn't have these yet. And I believe once they understood that the same conditions were going to apply to all of them, I don't think any of them even had concerns ahead of time about having them imposed. And certainly we haven't gotten any concerns afterward. Okay,
that's correct. That certainly is my recollection as well.
So we have a motion to grant item 13 with these conditions. Any further discussion of that motion? Okay, and
Mr. O'Donnelly?
Yeah.
Sorry to ask, but has the applicant agreed to these conditions?
I believe that with the exception of conditions on hours, we don't need the agreement of the applicant, although it doesn't hurt to confirm that the applicant understands and has no questions about the conditions. So that being said, can we hear from the applicant again, please?
Yes, I have no problem with it.
Wonderful. That was easy. Thank you. Oh, and for newer members of the committee, the somewhat strange sounding vocabulary in here is the vocabulary of the liquor distribution industry. So they all understand these terms really, really well. Okay, we have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor indicate by remaining silent. Opposed, please raise your hands. I see someone opposed. Mr. Christensen, will you please call the roll?
Thank you. On item number 13, Alder Carter.
Aye.
Alder Carter, aye. Mr. Fletcher.
Aye.
Mr. Fletcher, aye. Mr. Grady.
Yes.
Mr. Grady, aye. Ms. Reese.
Aye.
Ms. Reese, aye. Alder Skidmore.
No.
Alder Skidmore, no. Alder Verveer.
Aye.
Alder Verveer, aye. Ms. Westra.
Aye.
Ms. Sylvester, aye. 6 ayes, 1 no.
All right, motion carries. So that is item 13. Alder Verveer expressed interest in potentially making a motion to reconsider one of our previous items. Alder Verveer, is that something you would like to do now or not now?
I don't have a strong preference. I was just about to say, while you're sharing your screen, we could dispose of it perhaps, but also I recognize that there are individuals waiting to testify on other items, so perhaps it would be more hospitable if we just move on with our agenda and then come back.
That makes sense. Those of us on the committee are equally inconvenienced either way, but the members of the public kindly donating their time to share their valuable opinions with us don't need to sit around any longer than they need to. So that being said, that moves us on to item 14, new license for IO Arcade Bar. Do we have the applicant here?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Hello.
Tell us what you're looking at doing.
All right. Hi, my name is Mitchell Torino. I own IO Arcade Bar. Previously located at 720 Williamson Street. We're looking at moving to 924 Williamson Street. So we're just moving 2 blocks into what was Prism or Plan B. We're excited about the possibility of moving. I think it affords us a lot of great opportunities. And so we're looking at just slightly expanded hours, an hour later each night out to midnight. And other than that, I don't think there's any drastic changes besides adding some more video games.
All right. Committee, what questions do you have for Mr. Torino? Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Torino, just a quick follow-up to your statement. In terms of expanded sorts of opportunities and maybe putting more video games in there, are there other sorts of operational changes, more events, programming that you'd like to kind of talk about with that new space you'd like to kind of move into? A bit more detail would be great.
Yeah. So one thing we're looking at is expanding our food options over there. Prism was built out with a full cold prep kitchen. I've been consulting with Adam Hain from Little John's and a little bit with Patrick DePula from Salvatore's about what we can do with that space. Before, all we served frozen pizza, pretzels, and like chips and salsa. And it was fine, but we think we can do better, especially with a new space. So we're looking at like a lot more cold prep options, sandwiches, wraps, pita pockets, things like that. And instead of serving kind of like grocery store quality full frozen pizzas, what we're trying to do is get Salvatore's by the slice in there, which I think would be pretty awesome. Other than that, I think we would be really excited to take part in like the Willie Street Fair. But other than that, we're just kind of upgrading the size and the space and getting a parking lot, which is very exciting.
Mitchell, can you give us kind of your perspective on conversations with the neighborhood, conversations with kind of others? Obviously, this location has been of keen interest, particularly, more globally in the city of Madison, but also to this committee over several years. So again, your perspective on that and any issues or challenges that you have seen or that have been discussed would be great.
Any chance you grab me something to drink?
Yeah, when we were talking, when I was talking to the neighborhood association, I talked to their preservation development committee. We had a public information session and then talked with the full M&A board. It sounded like, all in all, I mean, we had been open for about 1.5 years at the old location before everything shut down. So people were already pretty familiar with us, which was helpful. the main concerns are about the space itself, capacity, and the expanded hours. I was asking for a little bit more than what we decided on in terms of hours. Capacity at our old place was 155. The new one is 300, roughly. We don't have a final number from building inspection, and they expect it to go down a little bit depending on the layout of the games and everything. But on top of that, we were we discussed hours a lot, and we discussed noise, just because I think the neighborhood is has had a pretty sordid history with nightclubs in that space, and I'm happy to say that we are not one. And ultimately, we came to a good agreement on that. They want like a 60 decibel limit on the property edge, which I think is very doable. We got rid of all the nightclub sound equipment and stuff. We only have overhead speakers at this point, so they'll be fine. But ultimately, I think to sum up, people know us, they like us, they're excited about the potential of a move, but had some concerns about the space itself. And I think we've come to a really good compromise addressing those.
And I think the chairperson has pulled up for the committee and others' benefit the kind of conditions that are from, I believe, all the Rummel's correspondence.
Yep.
With the committee. Just one closing question: how is the 60 decibel limit at the property line going to be enforced in some way or monitored in some way?
This only came up on Monday, so I haven't had a chance to do a ton with it. I do have a decibel meter, and I went out yesterday and took some readings and stuff like that just to figure out what the baseline is like and how we affect it. And I think it's something that we could reasonably find a way to put out regularly on nicer nights or whatever. And but ultimately, I think it'll come up if there is an issue, and then we can monitor more closely if it's something that winds up being a point of concern.
And my last question is on the kind of this notion around food being served until 90 minutes before closing. Mm-hmm. How is the rationale for that kind of determined versus just serving food until you're at all hours of operation, for instance?
Since the kitchen is separate from the bar, and it's a large bar, the rationale was kind of in terms of staffing. We felt you would need kind of 2 people if there was a lot of food service going on. And so as things wind down at the end of the night, we can go down to 1 safely. We can have 1 person, clean it up and prep and stuff like that at the end of the night. And then it'll all be ready for the next day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Mr. Trino, just want to get it formally on the record. Do you have any concern with the condition that Sunday through Thursday you would close at midnight earlier than the state allowed limit?
That's fine with me. I think it'll work just fine.
Excellent, thank you. Committee members, do you have any further questions for Mr. Trino? Do we have anyone else registered to speak on this item?
No, that's it.
All right. In that case, do I hear a motion to grant with the conditions recommended by the Neighborhood Association and agreed to by the applicant? Motion from Mr. Fletcher.
Michael, before we get to that, can I just ask a quick question to the others?
Yeah.
It's actually 2 questions. First, talking with the neighborhood, they like using the parking lot for the Willie Street Fair. That's taken care of. I've talked with Chuck Wall, landlord, about it. Seems that we're on the same page there. If we were to, and this is something that I'm sure won't come up until 2022 at the earliest, But when the Willie Street Fair happens, if we wanted to set up like an outdoor beverage station, is that something we would have to get a temporary permit for later, or is it something that should be baked in right now?
I'll tell you the way it's generally worked in the past, which isn't necessarily how it has to always work in the future. Generally, when someone wants to do something like that, they come in and apply for a change of licensed premises to expand their premises to include the parking lot on a specific date.
Okay.
And they have the event. And then if it goes swimmingly and nobody has any concerns, they come back the next year and ask, can we expand it on one day every year for this event? And we put it in with a wild card for the date.
Cool. And then my other question was something that Alder Verveer did for our last license. He suggested to make sure that the license states that we operate as a video arcade. We are applying for a conditional use permit to be an indoor entertainment premise, or whatever the terminology is, for the new space. Do we need to bake that into the license this time?
So what I've just put on the screen is the final condition on the previous license that was put there at the request of the neighbors, and ALRC actually approved it with some reservations from our council. If committee members would like to add that as a condition, of course we can. The fact that the neighbors didn't ask for it, I would infer to mean that they don't have the concerns that led them to add this condition before.
Okay. Great. That's all I had to ask.
Sure. All right. So we have a motion from Mr. Fletcher, I believe.
I was going to ask a question before I made the motion, Mr. Chair. I was just checking in with Captain Donahue. Are there any concerns from the police department before we kind of move forward with potentially voting on this?
Thank you. I have no concerns, and actually am quite thrilled that we're not talking about a nightclub, and that a large vacant space will be used by a business that has had a good reputation, and I believe will continue to do so.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, with that, I'd like to move to grant with the 6 conditions that you initially put up on the screen, and that I believe were recommended by the Alder of the district in conjunction with the Neighborhood Association.
All right, do I have a second? Second from Ms. Reese. We have a motion and a second, and Alder Verveer.
Thank you. I certainly support the motion, and the following suggestions of tweaking a little of the language is by no means any negative reflection on the applicant, who by all accounts is an excellent operator. I just was thinking that to clarify some of this language, we typically, as it relates to hours of operation, I'm just trying to be somewhat consistent with our previous actions, we typically state as a condition that alcohol service, that the establishment shall or must close at a certain hour. The way the proposed condition number 2 is worded, it almost implies that the applicant must stay open, it seems to me, till midnight during the week, and must stay open till 2:30 a.m. on weekends. That's great. That's it. Thank you for the improvement, Chairperson Donnelly. And then my other suggestion was for item 3. Again, this is not a reflection of the applicant whatsoever, but going back to confusion on capacities being listed on our licenses or not. For number 3, could we just add the word or the lesser amount? So the capacity, shall be 300 or the lesser of 300, or as determined by Building Inspection Division.
There is not yet a motion, so nobody has to agree to this.
Thank you for those edits. I think they improve the conditions. Thank you.
Of course. Committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fletcher?
Move approval with the 6 conditions as kind of stated here. I will say, and we could discuss it in a second. So I'd move that, and I believe
I'll happily second. I did want to make one other quick statement, but I'll let Mr. Fletcher go first.
I don't know, Alder Rivera, in wordsmithing and Mr. Chairperson, there's maximum of 75% alcoholic beverage sales. Are we fine with that in terms of consistency with other language we've used?
Was that a question of me or legal counsel? Well, my thought is that the condition number 4 is worded is preferable to how my friend and counsel colleague Alderperson Rommel's communication is, where it's even more specific of, I guess, arcade revenue versus food revenue. So I presume that the neighbors and Alderperson Rommel's concerns is that it not be fully only a tavern, which of course is not the intention.
So this is how it was worded previously. Would that be preferable?
To me, I think so.
I think that is more specific and an improvement as well.
Any further discussion?
Could I just mention one other thing about item 6, the proposed condition 6, and I don't know if attorneys Brist or Zillivi need to respond to this, but their colleague, Assistant City Attorney Paulson, in the past has, in a written legal memo, cautioned us several years ago that under state statute, we have to be very wary of conditions relating to smoking prohibitions outside, because the statute preempts municipalities from doing that. I just wanted assurance that the way that item 6 is worded, and actually I think it was Alderperson Rommel's proposed wording, provided me greater comfort in terms of the advice we previously have had from the city attorney's office. But is this language perhaps too strong as it relates to Attorney Paulson's previous advice to us in the past? I don't know if, again, you all have Alderperson Rommel's communication also up there. Alderperson Rommel's proposed wording for that condition is, quote, promote use of existing outdoor designated smoking patio on site of building. And I, again, appreciate your edits, Mr. Chair. I like the fact that you add more articles to these statements.
What was the remainder of that, Alder Verveer?
So Alderperson Rommel, I have her language in front of me, I'll just read hers directly again, promote use of existing outdoor designated smoking patio on site of building. I don't know that we should need the word existing in there. I think it would be more to promote the use of outdoor designated smoking patio on the side of the building. And that means, I believe, the rear door adjacent to the parking lot, which is what the previous establishments had utilized. But we can't prohibit people from smoking on, in front of the front door in Willie Street based on the legal advice we've received.
Does it look good to everyone?
Yeah.
Again, thank you for all your edits, Chairperson Donovan.
Of course. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by remaining silent. Opposed, please raise your hands. Motion passes, granting item 14, IO Arcade Bar at 924 Willie Street, with the conditions that I'm about to email to the clerk. I believe we just granted a license for 924 Willie Street in about half an hour. Nicely done. All right, Alder Verveer, did you want the floor?
I move reconsideration of our previous action on agenda item number 11.
Hear a motion to reconsider. And is there a second? A second from Mr. Fletcher. So for those who are unfamiliar, reconsideration is when you've got something that you already voted on and someone who supported it previously, something you voted on earlier in the same meeting, and somebody who supported it can vote to reconsider, and that brings the item back for discussion again. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion to reconsider, which was moved by Alder Verveer and seconded by Mr. Fletcher? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of reconsideration of item 11 indicate by doing nothing, and those in opposition, wave your hands. All right, open for reconsideration. Item 11 is before us once again. The floor is yours, Alder Verveer.
Well, I'm happy to yield to the Alder of the District Council, President Carter, if she wishes to make the motion. I don't have, honestly, all of the language that she had proposed. Of course, I would hope that the new motion would include the, what I would say call the standard Class A license conditions that we previously have discussed. But I believe there were other conditions that I don't have the vocabulary of. So if it's more appropriate.
I think our esteemed chair has the conditions that we previously put on Badger Road, and
I'll have the rest of them in a second.
Okay, so it would just be adding the common conditions, including the airplane, what I call the airplane bottles.
So,
ooh, go ahead.
No, the floor is yours.
No, I was just going to say, would that include the single bottle? Oh, single bottles or cans of beer. Yeah, I did ask for the airplane size bottles not to be sold, and I thought that would be under 3, but you're saying it's not?
I think that if we use the 4 common size conditions plus conditions 5 and 6 that we previously put on item 11, that will cover all of the bases that you would like.
Okay, thank you.
And I agree. Thank you. I don't know if President Carter wishes to make the motion or she wants someone else to.
I move that we Okay, I move that we add and combine the 3 and 4 to accommodate the travel size bottles of spirits.
I'll second, and if I could just quickly, rudely, since I'm unmiked, I'm unmuted, I should say, and I'm on. I just wanted to ask wonderful Mr. Christensen that if this new motion is adopted, if he would please reach out to the applicant and Attorney Trachtenberg to inform him of our updated action tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so Alder Carter, is this gelling to a motion?
Yes, I already moved it, so I don't have a second. So.
Okay, so we have a motion from Alder Carter and a second from Mr. Grady. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Assistant City Attorney Brest.
Follow up on what Alder Verveer was saying. and that we understand that the licensee and his attorney have to agree to the condition change. That was I think was the intention of Alder Verveer's request, right?
So it may be that we are incorrect, but that wasn't the counsel that we received previously from Assistant City Attorney Allen. His counsel was that if we want conditions that will restrict the hours beyond the state mandated hours of operation, that we needed people's approval. But that absent that, we could impose other conditions without the approval of the applicant.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand that distinction, but my advice, I guess, at this time would be that subject to the approval of the licensee, the applicant, I should say.
Excellent, thank you.
And that is fine.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Those in favor of approving item 11 with the new set of conditions and, well, with the new set of conditions, indicate by remaining silent. Anyone in opposition, please raise your hand. Seeing no hands, the motion passes. Please give me a moment and I'll be right back with you. Okay, moving right along. Item 15, report of recent calls for service. Captain Donahue, is there anything to which you would like to draw our attention?
No, thank you.
Eddie, are there any questions for Captain Donahue? Next up is item 16, summary of licenses is issued. Mr. Christensen, is there anything to which you would like to draw our attention? Are there any questions for a representative from the clerk's office? All right, we have a motion an item that was placed on the table. That was item 2. Mr. Fletcher, I will hand the baton to you to take whatever action is appropriate on item 2.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. For the clerk and Joe, I'm assuming that the applicant did not show up.
There's one person left in the attendee list. They're not under the name that is registered. It's possible it is the person using someone else's Zoom account. It's obviously up to the body whether you want to unmute the person.
Is there a motion to take the item off the table?
I so move.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Grady. Joe, why don't we see if the individual is indeed the applicant. Ms. Harris, are you here for item 2 or not?
I'm actually from the city clerk's office. I'm just shadowing, so I have no comment on agenda items.
Well, Ms. Harris, thank you very much for clarifying. I appreciate it, and that makes my life a lot easier. So thank you very much. Given that the applicant is not here, what is the committee's pleasure?
Move to refer to the next meeting since we have not had this before us yet.
Ms. Westra makes the motion to refer to our next regularly scheduled meeting. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Rees. Any discussion? All those in favor signify so by, as the chair eloquently says, doing nothing. The item is referred to our next regularly scheduled meeting. Mr. Chair, back to you.
Thank you very much. While I get the fun one, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Motion from Mr. Fletcher, second from Mr. Grady. All in favor of adjourning, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed to have
Aye.
the same privilege. And the motion passes, adjourned at 8:28 p.m.